Madam President von der Leyen, European authorities, Italian authorities, dear university rectors and deans, dear Bocconi University board members, dear alumni, students, faculty, staff members, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you all to this first virtual opening of an academic year. Let me also join President Monti in welcoming and wholeheartedly thanking President von der Leyen for being with us on this important day for our community. And let me particularly thank her for the leadership with which she is governing Europe in one of the most difficult times ever. For sure, the most difficult for younger generations like our students who have never experienced anything like this in their lifetime. Thank you, Madam President, for your leadership and for the role model you represent. We do look forward to hearing your words of wisdom in the keynote after this state of the university. I don't think it is an exaggeration to maintain that the shock produced by COVID-19 has increased everyone's awareness of how fragile human beings and more generally societies are. In spite of significant scientific, technological, and economic progress throughout the 20th century and into the start of this one, in the space of a few weeks, the whole world was brought to a halt due to the spread of a virus about which, even a year after its appearance, we still don't know enough to block its diffusion. Unlike other international crises or recessions, very few experts had imagined a scenario of this kind to be probable. A scenario that in terms of national and regional economic damage and number of deaths is objectively comparable to a world war. Interestingly, global conflicts are the only other times that in-presence teaching has stopped at university in most of the world. Retrospectively, therefore, it should be no surprise that the political reaction has been difficult to coordinate. At the outset, COVID-19 acted like a tsunami, and the reaction times, especially in Western democracies, which fortunately are maintained by complex institutional mechanisms, could not be as quick and efficient as such an aggressive enemy. A clever enemy, one that knew how to sow divisions among citizens, causing debate that juxtaposed the value of political choices with the need for science-based practical decisions, that counterposed the rhetoric of individual rights with state powers, that place health and the economy in a competitive stance instead of a complementary one. These battles are harder to resolve in a context of global cooperation that has been weakened in the last 5 years by nationalist politicians. Also contributing to the confusion is a new media context dominated by social networks, which sometimes act as detonators of complexity, adding the fuel of an infodemic to a pandemic already in flames. Allow me also to note in this academic context how disconcerting it has been to observe the spectacle of certain scientists who have fallen into the media trap of overstating what science can legitimately affirm on the subject. While it seems unfair to criticize the initial work of many governments, as time goes by, it is becoming increasingly difficult to hide the disappointment in most countries due to inadequate planning for the advent of the so-called second wave of the pandemic. In Italy, in spite of all good intentions and the planning carried out, including, for instance, the Colau plan, implementation has lacked the scope to suitably equip essential sectors such as healthcare, schools, and public transport. While we wait for the approved vaccines, it is also important to think about the future and plan it carefully now. On this matter, it must be said that if a period of expansion follows every economic recession, a shock of this size will presumably lead to an expansion of similar proportions. This is not much because the shock affects supply, but most of all because it also impacts demand and consumptions, which have been severely limited by the various restrictions that are the hallmark of this period. The post-war period of the 20th century is confirmation of this phenomenon. The Great Conflict made way for a period of flourishing growth during which the Europe we know today was shaped and consolidated, and Italy rebuilt itself to unleash the entrepreneurship that has made us a major player internationally. Likewise, after the exogenous shock created by the pandemic, there will very probably be a significant period of expansion and prosperity. The reinstatement of international mobility, strengthened by the new digital infrastructure that COVID-19 has forced us to master, will allow growth that will be faster than what took place following other recent crises. All this will be possible, however, under one condition, that what we are learning in these months will be transformed into tangible change aimed at introducing innovations. Schumpeter's theory of innovation reminds us of this. It was developed during the Second Industrial Revolution when electricity rebuilt the economy in 20th century industries. It states that times of crisis are the periods that favor the most radical innovations for those entrepreneurs and nations that know how to make the most of them. Only by innovating and searching for new economic and social opportunities along the path of today's fourth industrial revolution will it be possible to realize the full value of the natural post-pandemic expansion. More than anyone else, the European Union has understood the urgency of this matter. In addition to stimulating a constructive, collaborative spirit among the states during the pandemic, it has also literally acted as a lighthouse in the storm created by coronavirus, with the Next Generation EU Fund. The Recovery Fund has been formed along the two pillars of innovation that the fourth industrial revolution has dictated: digital transformation and environmental transformation, built on the cornerstone of human capital. And if one may argue that resource allocation of the Recovery Fund is entrusted to political consent, as it should be, it is still vital to recall that at this historical moment of excess liquidity, big investors are in search of institutions and companies that have potential to grow. And over the next several months, growth can only come through innovation deriving from the digital era's exploitation of big and small data, and from research into solutions to the environmental and social challenges that pursuit of sustainability has brought to light. Now, more than ever in the past, it is necessary to invest in human capital, digital transformation, and sustainability. I like to look at the effort put forth by Bocconi University in 2020 in terms of these three lines of action. It is an effort that will be further consolidated in what President Monti has just mentioned, the Bocconi Vision 2030, and in the Strategic Plan 2025, just approved by our university board. Let me get started with the first pillar. The strength of a university resides in its human capital. More specifically, it resides both on the quality of the faculty's teaching and scientific research and on the skills applied to ensure that the coming generations can enter an increasingly complex and competitive labor market. A photograph of the relative strength of the university is provided by the main international rankings that measure the parameters with which the academic activities of research, teaching, and service are carried out. In 2020, our position as fourth university in Europe and 16th in the world in social sciences in the QS rankings was confirmed, then corroborated by the US News ranking with 5th place in Europe and 18th in the world. In addition, we succeeded in gaining a place on the podium in the rankings of the best business schools in Europe for the first time, with the Bocconi School of Management taking 3rd place in the Financial Times rankings. These results depend upon various parameters, including among the others our teaching faculty's scientific production, the three main indicators of which have constantly grown in recent years, as you can see in this chart. The quality of Bocconi research is also demonstrated by the university's ability to win important international grants. There have been 37 European Research Council grants hosted here since 2007, a figure that puts us in 3rd place in the panel most directly related to us, that of economics, finance, and management. Today, there are 20 active grants hosted at Bocconi. There were 5 in 2010. In this respect, allow me to remind Madam President von der Leyen about the importance of continuing to support funding of the ERC, considering the paucity of resources in many EU countries dedicated to research. Bocconi has increased its ability to consistently win international and national grants from public sources. The table shows the number of active funded projects in the 3 calendar years referred to. In particular, to date in 2020, new calls for proposal acquired total over 9 million euro. However, innovation in human capital skills also requires new perspectives and the continuous entry into the faculty of new professors who are its essential lifeblood. With these new entries and their distribution by gender, age, and nationality, we have achieved the objectives contained in the Strategic Plan 2020. More specifically, during the current academic year, Bocconi has further increased its faculty by hiring 22 new professors, who you can see in this chart. Let me only mention today, for all of them, the four full professors: Ron Bart, Professor of Sociology; Marta Cartabia, Professor of Constitutional Law; Sonia Hopper, Professor of Management; and Giuseppe Savare, Professor of Mathematics. Including these 22 new entries, our faculty now comprises 376 professors, 20% of whom are international and over 31% women. A significant increase has been achieved in the number of female full professors, which has doubled in the last 5 years, although we have to do better. Our female colleagues have been the protagonists of important acknowledgement this year in the Relative Scientific Association, which they will soon chair. And I'd like to mention them. Professor Botticini will soon chair the European Economic Association. Professor Carletti, the European Finance Association. Professor Principe, the European Accounting Association. Professor Torbiza, the Italian Association of Healthcare Economics. The quality of human capital and the underlying rankings results can also be found in other indicators that concern the selection of new students and their value in the job market. The selection of new Bocconi students has overall stabilized at a ratio of 1 to 5, and in the last 5 years, our attractiveness for international students has grown by 155%. The consolidation of our PhD program's reputation has also attracted an increasing number of candidates. The future of Bocconi's educational path is that it favors international exposure during the study curriculum. Proof of these are the 282 partner universities in all continents and our presence as a founder and dynamic member of 10 university networks, including the one mentioned by President Monti before, Civica, a new model of collaboration between European universities founded as part of the European Universities Project by the European Commission. Let me say hello to the Chancellor and Rectors and to all the Deans of International Affairs of Civica universities that I know are connected to this event. As confirmation of the effectiveness of the route taken, employment rates among our graduates now stands at 95.7%, including an all-time record for placement outside Italy, 31.1% this year. Now let me move to the second pillar. The fourth industrial revolution, combined with the advent of COVID-19, requires structures and capacity for innovation focused on digital transformation. It is more essential than ever before to develop and disseminate the skills that will allow future generations to integrate big data with citizenry and the labor market of the future. There are 3 areas that we have worked on constantly in 2020. First, programs dedicated to the understanding and dissemination of digital technology. We have launched the 5th study program, the Bachelor in Mathematics and Computing Sciences for Artificial Intelligence, that runs alongside the other 4 programs focused on digital technology, which you can see in this chart. To disseminate entrepreneurship required for the 4th industrial revolution, our accelerator, Bocconi for Innovation, selected 12 startups for the acceleration program and 35 for the pre-acceleration program, out of 439 candidates in the first 2 calls. Indication of the auspicious beginning of B4I, which was launched last year, comes from the data on the growth of the first 5 accelerated startups, which completed their path in full lockdown from March to July. These are enterprises that in just a few months have hired new employees and whose turnover has increased by up to a factor of 3 on an annual basis. These are data that will certainly encourage new entrepreneurs to take part in the 3rd call that is currently open and will end on January 7th. And let me thank all the partner university and the service provider that support B4I. From this academic year, Bocconi for Innovation and SDA Bocconi School of Management will also launch a new important initiative called ICE, Innovation and Corporate Entrepreneurship Center. The new center aims to support the development of innovations in public and private companies, providing them with personalized research and training paths in corporate entrepreneurship. But the second area of the digital transformation pillar is the teaching model. More than anything else, 2020 has been dictated to developing remote learning, which is the quintessence of digital in higher education. The weekend of February 22nd will long remain in the memory of the entire Bocconi community and of the Milan and Lombardy universities in general. Let me greet my friends, rectors of universities in Milan and Lombardy, which are all attending this ceremony virtually. During that long weekend, we took all together the difficult decision to interrupt in-person teaching as of the following Monday to combat the spread of the virus a few days ahead of the national lockdown announced by the government on March 8th. The reaction of our community was fantastic and immediate. On Monday 24th, we were the first university to hold virtual lessons with the MBA students from SDA Bocconi School of Management, and within a week, all the other 4 schools followed suit. I want to note that this reaction was possible because the coronavirus did not catch us unprepared, as we could make use of a digital structure and culture developed over the years, thanks also to the educational center built. Even prior to the epidemic, in fact, 30% of lessons at the university involved digital activities. And in the last 2 years, about 40% of our professors had taken part in specific training for this very purpose. Along these lines, in 2019, SDA Bocconi had launched its portfolio of courses on demand, referred to by the press as the Netflix of learning, and has recently finalized a new partnership for on-demand distribution with leading platforms Emeritus and Get Smarter. What we did during lockdown has been a training ground for organizing educational activities for this academic year. During the first term, we therefore made sure that our students could attend at least half of their educational program in person and safely, using the rooms at 50% capacity. The teaching model adopted has provided for 3 different types of lessons, as indicated in this chart. And if university teaching has undergone a transformation, the executive market of digital courses has seen a sharp rise. Being able to count on a new library of on-demand courses that were fully redesigned in 2020, SDA Bocconi School of Management has seen a 100% growth in enrollments in this market segment compared to 2019. The innovations developed and introduced these times of crisis will contribute to the new teaching model that Bocconi is designing for its future, and it's part of the strategic plan. The new model will combine in-person teaching with digital, creating a new enhanced way of learning and teaching, where the professors will increasingly be the coach and will guide students through the content and media, with great attention placed on interaction and exchange of experiences. The third area of digital transformation has to do with services. With movement curbed for most of the year and the mass introduction of working from home, 3 more essential dimensions of our students' training path have also been revolutionized: the international experience, the entry into the world of work, and events in the Bocconi world. The introduction of virtual exchanges for students from partner university has meant that we could at least host almost 300 students during the current semester. Although not able to travel to Milan, the students have been experiencing Bocconi academic life, sharing lessons, group work, and assignments with our students, benefiting from all the support services. Thanks to its presence in the GNAM network founded by Yale University, Bocconi has also introduced the new small network online courses format. Like teaching, our career service has also had to adapt their rules dictated by the coronavirus. The various formats have been redesigned to be held online, and so since the end of February, 180 recruiting and career advice initiatives have been organized online, involving almost 700 employers and 16,000 plus students and graduates, as you can see from this chart. Lastly, our events have also been transformed. These are a vital element for the exchange of ideas among researchers from around the world who are involved in the seminars organized by our departments. The events are a tool for scientific divulgation and for the involvement of all Bocconi stakeholders. Overall, the Bocconi ecosystem has organized more than 700 webinars and online events. I would like to mention one in particular for all. With the help of the Econometrics Society, the most important economic association, instead of looking at the writing on the wall and canceling the World Conference planned for August 2020 on our new campus, we held a conference with more than 4,000 people from 80 nations, all connected remotely. Interestingly, the last Econometrics Society conference registered 1,600 participants. This shows the incredible outreach that digital platforms provide. Let me now move to the third and last pillar, sustainability. Our founder, Ferdinando Bocconi, wanted to base Bocconi University studies on respect for the harmony between school and life, deducing the importance of culture and science as the foundations of a nation's economic and moral growth. His and our values, unchanged since 1902, are of independence, meritocracy, integrity, respect, open-mindedness, pluralism, and social responsibility. They have taken on now a new importance in light of the goals of the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development of the United Nations and the ideas provided by the Next Generation EU Fund. And even in this case, the year of COVID-19 has also been a powerful accelerator in terms of inclusion, economic, and environmental sustainability. Let me start with inclusion. Professor Catherine de Vries has taken up the position of Dean of Diversity and Inclusion. The goal of her appointment, which she has accepted in light of her experience as chair of the European Political Science Association Diversity Committee, is to promote diversity and inclusion as fundamental principles of an open community through the adoption of specific policies and activities. With regard to the promotion of inclusion and merit, Bocconi has been increasing its commitment to the extent that last year we supported 3,700 students, which means for us 1 in 4 enrolled students. In the last 5 years, this commitment to providing economic assistance to our students has increased by approximately 20%, going from 25 million euro in 2014 to almost 36 million euro by 2020. Since the start of the pandemic, we have worked to make the campus a safe place with an investment of 3 million euro. And since the return to the classroom at the end of August, this chart shows in numbers what has been done thanks to the crisis team that was set up last January. As far as economic sustainability is concerned, we reached an important milestone at the end of October, completion of the fundraising campaign within our reach, which raised 120 million. This goal was reached thanks to the 3,350 donors who desire to invest in knowledge and the future along us. This year, thanks to the contribution from the Fondazione Romeo ed Enrica Invernizzi, we launched the Covet Crisis Lab. The lab, directed by an epidemiologist, Professor Melegaro, is characterized by the interdisciplinary nature of its approach. Its projects have already produced several papers, some of which have been published in leading journals such as Science, PNAS, Lancet, and PLOS ONE. Thanks once again to the support of the Fondazione Invernizzi, we will inaugurate the European Studies Institute, headed by a legal expert in European law, Professor Spaventa, which will allow us to address European subjects with an interdisciplinary approach which is crucial for the future, combining law with economics, politics, and artificial intelligence. AXA Research Fund and AXA Italia have chosen to work with us and furnish support for another essential research topic. The new AXA Lab in Gender Equality, directed by an expert in diversity economics, Professor Profeta, aims to investigate the role of public policies in promoting gender equality, empowerment, and female leadership. Finally, thanks to the support of Heinz, Intesa San Paolo, Milano Sesto, and Prelios, we have established the new research lab in sustainable urban regeneration. It will be led by an expert of urban mobility, Professor Croci, and will investigate the new ways of creating private and social value made possible by long-term sustainable industrial development in urban planning. These new laboratories are in addition to what we have already achieved in recent years thanks to our donors, and this chart shows the long-term shares that contributed to our campaign in the last years. Donors have not only supported research and chairs, though. They have also supported student scholarship. A thank you this year goes to Fondazione Enel, City Foundation, and Fondazione Dompe for their support of our students. For the same reason, I would like to thank some of our generous alumni who this year have chosen to support the new generations of Bocconi students, demonstrating a great desire to give back. For all, Diego and Monica Piacentini and Niccolò Colusi. Let me also take the occasion to welcome Silvia Candiani, Country General Manager at Microsoft Italia, who was recently nominated President of the Bocconi alumni community. Silvia, to which we go all our congratulations, will take over the torch from Riccardo Monti, Managing Director and Senior Partner of the Boston Consulting Group, who we would like to thank for his competence, passion, and commitment throughout his 6 years of leadership of the Bocconi alumni community, during which the outreach and engagement of our alumni has increased substantially. But in the years of Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Future and the European Green Deal, we also did our best to pay attention to a third dimension of sustainability, environmental sustainability. We have promoted research, teaching, and tangible actions that are summarized in our sustainability report launched this year. We specifically take pride in the prestigious standing confirmed year after year of our Master in Sustainability and Energy Management, #1 in the world once again. In addition to the wealth of initiatives already in place, this year we also have the just launched ESG Lab Excellence in Sustainability and Governance, promoted by SDA Bocconi School of Management with important partners such as Fondazione Sodalitas, Falk Renewables, and Enel Foundation. Lastly, this chart represents some of the actions taken on campus, including reduction in CO2 emissions and waste production, and in consumption of water, paper, and energy, plus the extension of green areas thanks to our new campus inaugurated last year. Let me now move to some acknowledgements and conclusions. These results were made possible through the efforts of many people. Let me start with our students and alumni. The determination and seriousness of our students has been unique. They proved to be especially cooperative and constructive during this crazy year. Relatedly, the support and closeness of our alumni around the world has been particularly precious to all of us. Let me mention one of them, Andrea Enria. Andrea is the chair of the European Central Bank Supervisory Board, who was voted 2020 Alumnus of the Year. Let me also remark that success in such a complicated year is specifically the product of the commitment of the entire faculty and staff, who went beyond their comfort zones of in-person teaching and work. It's hard to express the gratitude of all Bocconi governance to each single member of our faculty and staff for what they have done in this unusually complex year. Let me personally thank Managing Director Riccardo Taranto, with whom I share every single day the orchestration of strategic and operating activities at Bocconi. But allow me also to acknowledge the various bodies that contribute to the governance and the strategic directions of Bocconi University. Let me thank the Academic Council and all Bocconi managers. Let me particularly acknowledge the Executive Committee and the University Board chaired by President Monti. This year, the committee and the board have approved the aforementioned Vision 2030 and the Strategic Plan 2025, fruit of the contributions ably coordinated by Professor Sironi. The International Advisory Council, led by Professor Giavazzi, the Fundraising Campaign Board, led by Mr. Cucchiani, and the Istituto Iavot Bocconi, led by Professor Provasoli. Finally, a remembrance and a last farewell to a special Bocconi alumnus, Alberto Alesina, who passed away this year before his time. Alberto was a professor of Harvard University and for years the Tommaso Padoa-Schioppa visiting professor at Bocconi University. Alberto contributed through his studies to broadening the horizons of the field of economics. Allow me to conclude by noting that COVID-19 pandemic is a dramatic social experiment that has highlighted many challenges regarding the sustainability of capitalism. Humanity must overcome these challenges in the post-pandemic society. As Professor Rebecca Henderson of Harvard University so effectively highlighted in her recent book, we no longer have an excuse for not rethinking some of the main mechanisms behind capitalism, even though we must not forget it has been the principal source of prosperity in human history. In addition to unmasking critical areas, the pandemic has also revealed new paths that the new digital transformation will allow us to travel. It is a good thing that Europe has managed to catalyze forces and energy to provide a unique stimulus to the Union's nations. It is now up to the individual countries to make the most of the opportunity. In the world of innovation, people know that it is in difficult times that we need the courage to innovate. We need to do it now, as our payoff states now more than ever. I now declare open the academic year 2020-2021 which is the 119th year in Bocconi University's life.